Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is Sean's reports for the 10th of February. And right at the support line, market was doing just fine early on and then started to capture some weakness. At the same point, we started to get the MBI white crossover of the red, which is something we had saw in Bitcoin the other day, which we suspected would call for a move back to the 50%, particularly if it crosses magenta. And sure enough, that's what we got. Even with short-term buyers, just completely collapsed for the ES within that later sell period, and it got us just below the 76%. So it was a significant pullback. It does fill the positive extreme, at least to the open, uh, right there, and still leaves a little bit of the tail on that one. The low is all the way down to 40.48, and we only got to 78, so a little more room to go. Close and significant market change because that's clearly sell territory where before really wasn't that strong. And you can see DOC cyan for the NASDAQ very close now to breaching the red. That dip below the negative 13 is always a problem because it really is the effect of it coming from on top and crossing below. And that is always subjective to weakness. Now, NASDAQ's a bit more problematic because you've got a lot of positive extremes that take you back significantly. And should white MBI now start to accelerate, that would put continued pressure on the market in general. And this is that back and forth play that's going to be, I think, increasing. This was some of the, took a little bit of time. I thought that we would see the volatility a little sooner than this, but there are a lot of blind out there that are just sort of plugging away. They had to get rid of all the shorts that had over aggressively positioned. And once you make them feel like, oh, things are rosy again, that's when you pull the rug out. It just took them 10 extra days. TLT, yeah, it's very strange behavior. Yes, there's a huge demand for it, but at the end of the day, rates are going up. So why is it even anywhere near 104? We don't know. Why was it 109? That was insane. Um, we should be sub 100 here, but that's okay. It'll get there. Just a matter of time. Oil, ugly shoot back up again, and it just continues to put added strain on things. It's not catastrophic per se, like when we had the persistent rise going up, earlier in the year, well, the end of last year, and now it's just sort of like this constant pain that's just a sucking machine out of available capital. It's literally what it does. And from a gold standpoint, it had gone before that pulled back a little bit, and yeah, the white MBI leading, we suggested that would take it to the 50%. It's kind of where it's sitting right now. Magenta has making its turnaround. As the numbers start to come through, gold will do just fine. It's not going to be one linear straight move, but it will, over time, continue to increase. The euro flatlining right at that 50% as well. They're just going to pick arbitrary support numbers at this particular stage. Got magenta over, but white leading, so still somewhat bullish from that standpoint, which is just weird to say for the euro. And Bitcoin, well, we had talked about that where the white did cross the red already, and then we crossed magenta that called for a move down towards 50%, and sure enough, broke that support. Been crazy with that shakeout as elevated as it is. And we're getting to the point where it's starting to shrink just a little bit, and there it is, that steel, negative 13, which is effectively coming and crossing from the top side. So as long as that remains in the negative side before it pops back up, I would look for continued weakness, but also that DOC spread would be powerful. You've already got midterm buyers crossing below. So that was the first nail. Not that Bitcoin is dying or anything. It's just in the face of a correction. Right here, ETH, similar. All those days of just consolidation, and doesn't take much for a little liquidation. And that can happen when the market pukes a little bit. So 50K was pretty clean, cleared out of the long setup and went short on it midday and took that all the way to the downside with it, and it was pretty clean. From a 5K standpoint, you can see the pre-market. We had talked about this one as it was happening. The pre-market was shot up and gave considerable fits of support within there. We kept seeing the MBI white lead up, then the Fibonacci zero came all the way up to greet it, and that's when things started to get a little bit interesting because we started hitting the various supports, and all we kept getting was white MBI leads, and that just kept causing us to break into new territory. If I slide across here, strength on the day. I mean, when you talk about volume, it's really not that terrific for what we're seeing. So when you have low volume on the upside, low volume on the downside, those aren't really strong moves from a you know weighted standpoint. Usually, you want to see high volume when you get significant dips. And so later on, uh, the move brought us all the way back down to that 4080, and we're stuck right now between that 4103 and 4080. It's pretty clean action. It just fills all positive extremes and leads the market in that middle switch zone, there's enough room to go to the upside, and there's still some room to the downside, and everything would still be the same. Which is to say, though, that we are seeing a significant change in that daily setup. And I think that's pivotal because we've been riding with Cyan under Red DOC, which has been buy configuration for quite some time. So that's a pretty major shift and something worth noting, and keep that in the back of your mind right there, because that is going to be the impetus of how things change. As always, though, trade well. We'll talk to you later for your Skype chat.